Hello students, myself Milan Patel, Assistant Professor at LJIET Institute of Engineering and Technology. Today's topic is about arches and their technical terms and construction. So let's begin. First of all, we will see what is an arch. An arch is a structure constructed in curved shape with wedge-shaped units, either bricks or stones, which are jointed together with mortar and provided at openings to support the weight of the wall above it, along with other superimposed loads. Okay, because of its shape, the loads from the above gets distributed to the supports, or you can say to piers or abutments. Okay, this is called an arch. Now let's see what is the difference between lintel and arch. Lintel is a horizontal member which is placed across an opening like door and window to bear or to resist the load of the masonry above them, while the arch is a curved member of wedge-shaped building units provided to bear loads above. Okay, so this is the main difference between lintel and arch. Second, lintels are simple and easy to construct, while arch requires special centering and formwork. Okay, lintels is used for smaller span, while arch can be used for larger span. Lintel is generally used in number of type of buildings, while arch is generally used in bridge where large span is required. Okay, lintel carries less load compared to an arch, while arch carries high load compared to lintel. Lintel requires a rigid surface for resting, while arch can rest on light supports also. The soffit and intradoors are the similar one, right? Next is vouzier. And the wedge shaped units of masonry which are forming an arch is called as vouzier. You can clearly see the vouzier in this figure also. Okay, you can clearly see number of vouzier in the part of arch also. Okay. Next is crown. The highest part or peak point of hexados is called as the crown. Okay. Next is keystone. The wedge-shaped unit which is fixed at the crown of an arch is called as keystone. Okay. You can clearly see keystone here and keystone here also. Okay. Next is springing points. These are the points from which the curve of the arch springs. Okay. You can clearly see springing points here in the both the ends. Okay. Next is springing line. It is an imaginary line joining the springing points of either end. Okay, this horizontal line is called as springing line. Okay, next is springer. It is the first vouzier at springing level and it is immediately adjacent to the skew back. Okay, so the first vouzier at the springing level is called as the springers. Okay, you can clearly see springers in this figure also. Next term is spandrel. If two arches are supported or constructed side by side, then a curved triangular space is formed between the extradoors with the base as horizontal line through the crown. This space is called as spandrel. Okay, this triangular shape is called as spandrels. Okay. Next is skewbacks. This is an inclined surface or splayed surface on abutment from which arc curve starts or ends. Okay, this inclined surface is called as skewbacks. Okay, after skewbacks, first vouzier which is called as springers are there. Okay, next is abutment. Okay, this is the end support of an arch, or you can say one type of columns of the arch. Okay, is called as abutments. Next is pier. This is the intermediate supports of an arch is called as pier. You can clearly see the difference between abutments and pier in this figure. The end supports are called as abutments. The interior supports or intermediate supports are called as the piers. Okay. Next is arcade. It is a row of arches in continuation. Okay. If the arches are in row, it is called as arcade. Okay. Next is haunch. The lower half of the arch between the crown and skewback is called as haunch. Okay, this lower half portion of the arch is called as haunch. Next is ring. The circular course forming an arch is called arc ring, and arch may be formed by one ring, or you can say the combination of number of rings. Okay, you can clearly see arc ring in this figure. Next is impost. The projecting course is provided on the upper part of pier or abutment to stress the swinging line. This course is called as impost. This portion, or you can say this layer, is called as the impost. Okay. Next term is bed joint. The joints between the bowsiers are called bed joints. These bed joints are radiate from center of an arch. Okay. The joint between the number of bowsiers is called as bed joints. Okay. Next is center or striking point of an arch. The geometric point based on which the arc forms. Intradoors of arch, extradoors of arch, and arc rings are described is the center or the striking point. Okay, this O is, you can say, the striking point of an arch. Okay, by which the arch is formed. Okay, next is span. The clear horizontal distance between the supports or abutments or piers is termed as the span of an arch. You can clearly see span here in this figure. Okay. Next is rise. The clear vertical distance between the highest point on intradoors and the swinging line is called as the rise. Or you can say the distance, vertical distance between swinging line and, you can say, the intradoors, highest point of intradoors is called as the rise. Okay. Next is the depth or height of an arch. The perpendicular distance between the intradoors of arch and extradoors of arch is called as the depth of an arch, or you can say the height of an arch. Okay, you can clearly see the depth of arch in this figure. Okay, next term is the thickness of the arch. The breadth of soffit, which is measured perpendicular to the front and back faces of an arch, is called as the soffit of an arch, or you can say thickness of the arch. Okay, that's all about the various technical terms of an arch. Okay, now let's see the construction of arches. There are mainly three steps in construction of arches. First is installation of centering, or you can say formwork. Second is laying or casting of the actual arch. And third is striking or removal of the centering or the formworks. Okay, these are the main three steps of construction of arches. Okay, let's discuss these all steps one by one, starting with installation of centering or formwork. This centering is a temporary structure required to support the brick, stone, concrete arch during its construction till it has gained sufficient strength. Okay, so this temporary structure or centering is there till it has gained sufficient strength. Okay, the centering is installed in such a way that its upper surface corresponds with the intradoors of an arch. Okay, for minor works, centering may be made of mud masonry constructed to match with inner soffit of an arch and then plastered. This masonry is dismantled later when the arch has been constructed and cured. The usual centering is made of timber or steel. This wooden centering is the simplest type of centering used for construction and easy to dismantle and cheapest for moderate span. Okay, it is easy and it can be used several times, or you can say number of times. Nowadays, steel type of centering is mainly used, but in older times, wooden centering is mainly used. Okay. Now let's see timber centering for wider soffits. This figure shows the thicker wooden plank with horizontal bottom and the upper surface shaped to underside of the soffit. Such a plank is known as center or turning piece. Its width is normally 10 cm and it is supported on vertical timber posts called props with wooden wedges to tighten or loosen the centerings. Okay. If the soffit is wider than 10 cm, two ribs suitably spaced and suitably shaped at top may be used. These ribs may be connected by 4 by 2 cm wooden sections called leggings. Okay. At the ends, ribs are supported by bearers wedges and posts as shown in this figure. Okay, you can clearly see the elevation and section of this timber centering for the wider soffits. Okay. Now, let's see the centering for wide soffits and bigger spans. For wide soffits and bigger span, a built-up centering of cut wood ribs is used. Okay, you can clearly see cut wood ribs in this figure. The upper surface of the ribs is given the shape of the soffit of the arch. Okay, the leggings or cross buttons are nailed across the ribs at close intervals to support the wowsers at its top. The ribs are kept 25 to 40 thick, with width varying from 20 to 30 cm. The distance between ribs depends upon the thickness of wall supporting the arch. The ribs are connected by braces and studs to strengthen them. Okay, the horizontal ties are provided at lower ends of the ribs to prevent them from spreading. Okay, the ribs are supported on bearers, and a pair of folding wedges is provided at the top of each prop to tighten or loosen the centering. Okay, so this is how you can do centering for wide soffits and for bigger span. Okay, that's all about the installation of centering or formwork. The second step of construction of arch is laying or casting of the actual arch. Let's see. After erection or installation of centering, skew backs are first prepared, which is the inclined portion of the arch. Then wowsers are then arranged in proper and required forms, starting from skew backs and proceeding towards the crown. Okay. Finally, the keystone is inserted so as all the wowsers are locked in positions. The wowsers should be properly bedded. Okay. After that, the center or turning piece is eased by slackening the wedges so that it is lowered by a height of 2 to 3 mm. Such a process is an essential requirement in stone arches since it permits the wowsers to settle upon their beds properly. Okay, that's all about the laying or casting of the actual arch. Then the third step is striking or removal of centering or formwork. When arch has developed sufficient strength, the centering can be removed. No load should be placed on the arch unless the centering has been removed. Okay. For smaller span, the removal of centering is done by loosening the folding wedges. When the span is more than 7 meter, sandbox method, here which is shown in this figure, can be used for loosening so that shocks are avoided. Okay. In this method, first of all, a sandbox is placed below the then sand is filled in the box with a plugged hole at its bottom. Okay. Then prop rests on the steel plates placed on the top of sand. Okay. Then after, in order to lower the centering, plug is taken out due to which the sand flows out and lowers the prop gradually. Okay, this is how the centering removal can be done when the span is more than 7 meter to reduce the chances of the shocks. Okay, so this is how the removal of centering can be done, and this is how you can construct the arches. Okay, that's all about today's lecture. Thank you for watching.